Mario is up a game. Let's go. All right, what is this? Azamina versus Snake Eye Fiendsmith, which also could have Azamina. Let's check it out. Is there Azamina in your extra deck? There is not. And then Trap Plays is playing with, we already know Azamina. We got the Doom Dragon also. They got to increase the extra deck size with the new Master Rule. Do we need 20 cards in the extra deck or what? I guess we got a nice icon here. The new, is this a new glow? Let's go.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
Deception of Sinful Spoils. You could send a monster from your hand or field to the graveyard to search for the Hallowed Azamina, which you will then send the Deception of Sinful Spoils to the graveyard to then summon your fusion monster. We're going to Call by the Grave, Finger the Maxi. Officially, Maxi is now semi-limited in-game. It's now safe to play. Finger the Fool. As you now summon from the extra deck, essentially a Diablo Star. This Diablo Star-like monster will be searching our deck for a Sinful Spoils card or an Azamina 1, which will be the original Sinful here. We're going to Original Sinful, send the Azamina Fusion to now whip out our Snake Eye Ash. Ash add Poplar, Poplar trigger, summon itself, add a Divine Temple, set up the Snake Eye Diablo Star. We're going to use the other effect of Hallowed Azamina. What's really interesting about this, it's similar to Chimera Fusion, where it's activatable more than once per turn. You get to summon a fusion monster from the extra deck. Now, the first fusion you summon is the setup. The second fusion you summon is a negate, and the negate is similar to Phantom of Yubel, where it jumps off the field, so you can't chain impermanence to it negating. You have to preempt your impermanence, you have to preempt your Veiler, but it doesn't just stop monster effects. It negates anything, and you're about to see that. Hallowed Azamina, we're gonna send from the hand the Sinful Spoils, and this is it, the Sylvia negate anything. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you contribute this card and negate that effect. This means it does not negate in the damage step. But you may be thinking, oh man, I wish she negated the activation of cards. If she were to negate the activation of a branded fusion, then a branded Lost would make sure Sylvia does not work whatsoever, and they would be able to add back a negated branded fusion engraved back to the hand to activate it again. Because it negates the effect just like an Ash Blossom, it's a one and done thing, so it's a downside and an upside, especially against branded. And I guess now we can now more safely make our Snake Eye plays. If you had maybe a Nibiru, you now lose to the Azamina. There you go. Snake Eye got a boost. Also, Yubel should be nicely boosted. Yubel and Snake Eye can make a Beatrice. Beatrice could send Snake Eye Ash, Beatrice can send the D-Lotus, and then you could Muckraker reborn it, or you can use your Promethean Princess and Snake Eye to reborn Snake Eye. And there is the Fiendsmith Requiem. Requiem's gonna be jumping off the field to summon from the deck our Fiendsmith Engraver. The Engraver, when going second, does have the ability to pop a monster on the field, and by pop it, it sends it to the graveyard. We're going to be summoning a Flame Burst from the deck by sending the Requiem equipped onto the Engraver. We have Snake Eye Diablo Star reborning itself in the back row, setting up the Oak. We now have the Fiendsmith sequence. It's very important to note that with the sequence, both monsters used to summon this do not have to be a Light Fiend. It's Light Fiend plus anything else. So you're going to notice without Lacrima, like Gianna did, she's like, what do? I have Engraver on field and nothing is lighting up. You're probably gonna have to normal summon a hand trap, and then you can make sequence with a hand trap or any monster alongside your Engraver because we didn't get the freaking Lacrima. Now we're gonna fuse to the graveyard, and by fusing, we're gonna return it back in the deck or extra deck to make the other Fiendsmith Lacrima. The Lacrima girl is what didn't come, this did come. And you add it back to the hand if you have not searched for your Fiendsmith Tract yet. Fiendsmith Tract will then be searching for a Lurie. Lurie will then be discarded. Does that make Lurie a Garnet? No. Lurie is essentially a brick, not a Garnet. Garnet would require it to be in the deck, where if you have it in your hand already, you could search for another Light Fiend monster to then discard the Lurie already in hand. So it's not like a Mecha Phantom Beast where you have to summon it from the deck. We're now making a Moon of the Closed Heaven, which you normally make to go into the Requiem with any two monsters in the game. Reborn our Fiendsmith Engraver, but we made her just to make room. We're now fusion summoning with the Fiendsmith Tract. Fiendsmith Tract will fuse with your hand or your field, and the sequence will equip onto the Desiree, Now, Desiree is going to be able to negate up to 2 cards on the field. Also, the sequence makes it so that it cannot be targeted by card effects. So if we read this, quick effect, negate the effects of a number of face-up cards non-targeting up to the total link rating of link monsters equipped to this card. Now, what this would stop on turn 1 is an impermanence, but other hand traps it will not be stopping. Also, there's 2 things you should note about this. The Desiree can negate the Promethean Princess after she reborns a monster, and then Promethean, where normally she could not do so because you're locked into fire monsters only, you can turn her into an Apollo USA. From Promethean to Apollo, you don't have to summon some other nonsense. Now, another good thing to note is the Desiree does get countered by an Ogre. Maybe Ogre is going to become more popular, you tell me. If you chain Ogre to pop it, then on resolution, you have no link rating because it's in the graveyard now, and then no negate. So maybe that's a possibility. Promethean, Reborn. We're going to Flameburge, equip the Masquerina. Desiree, negate the Promethean Princess. And now we could go, as I said, Apollo freaking USA. And this entire combo is protected by the Azamina Omni Negate. We're going to be recycling the Deception during the end phase if it was sent to the graveyard. Now, what do we have here? We have the Omni Negate up to 2 cards. We have Masquerina into a double Little Knight Banish, which will be triggered off of the Divine Temple. If we summon at all, it will then be summoning. We also have the Sylvia, which will negate anything. Evenly match will get negated twice. You have double evenly. Desiree and Sylvia will stop it. And then we have the Apollo with the double monster negate. We have the Promethean Engrave for 7 disruption, plus we have Impermanence. That's about 8 disruption, where Snake Eye outside of Borreload and Baron de Floor did not really have Omni negates, and now Board Breaker is going to be a lot weaker. So you may be thinking, if you Forbidden Droplet send a monster, then you get to negate the whole field. But if they have a non-monster effect to chain to your droplet, they could then chain the Desiree to their own card to then negate your droplet. Grab the Lurie. Lurie get discarded. Is GG? I think so. Now, I was talking about Fabled when going second. We do have the effective Engraver to attempt to send a monster in the field to the graveyard, so it could at least go even with the disruption there. Poplar negated, but not destroyed. Poplar linked this off into Linkuriboh. This may be going into a Little Knight. Let's equip the Poplar, and yes, Little Knight instead of the Closed Moon Heaven to go into the Fiendsmith engine. On summon, we are going to banish the sequence, at least attempt to do so, because if it gets banished, then the Desiree has no negate. Now we're going to imperm onto the Little Knight, which will negate all of the effects. Full negate. No banish, no banish. Apollo still gets reduced, attempting to negate or negating the activation of the effect. Come forth. Diablo Star for the follow-up we have already committed to our normal summon. And as I said, the Divine Temple triggering to summon a Masquerina from the back row, where we could summon our own Little Knight, and this would be a good time to do so, as we are doing exactly that, going into that Little Knight banish onto the original Sinful before it activates. You're out of here. To battle we go. Say goodbye to you. Neither player has the new raid mate. What the heck? Moon of the Closed Evidence here. And let's look at the lingering effects. If we click on the lingering effect window, we are it says it. You can't see it, but I highlight the Call by the Grave. It says Maxi is negated. What the? Wow. And the Imperm column and the Maxi's currently negated. Interesting. So you should never forget about Called by again. Requiem jump off the field as the Sylvia could get fingered. Why didn't you finger Sylvia? Finger the Sylvia, negating Requiem. But yeah, we just want to get out of here. Okay, let's hop into game number 3. What are we noticing already? The usage of Bestial going up, up, up. If you are losing to Fiendsmith, then you want to put in Bestials. That is going to be a great counter play. We'll grab the Tract here. Tract, activate, search our deck for a Lurie. Now, I've been watching a lot of TCG videos, hand trap guides, and what they're doing in tournaments. They do recommend, even though if it sounds controversial, because I know a lot of you will say you should only Ash Blossom the Requiem, they are in fact also saying, and I do agree with that, you should also Ash the Fiendsmith Tract. But then there's a third scenario where you choose to not Ash at all, If you feel that you are going to be able to deal with their sequence, let's say you have an Impermanence or a Veiler and an Ash, you could just hold on to your Ash Blossom, because what's happening here is the Fiendsmith, he's trying to eat your Ash. And by eating your Ash, they then use their real plays. They maybe follow up with a Snake Eye Ash or an original Sinful. So the best time to Ash against Fiendsmith could, in many cases, be to not use it at all. Do not use Ash. Possibly. All right, let's Fabled Lurie, Reborn from Engrave, come forth and make the Fiendsmith Requiem. Requiem jump off the field here into our Fiendsmith Engraver. Now, unfortunately, there's no circumstance where you could really activate the Engraver consistently. Engrave while you have no monsters on field, which would mean that the Bestial in hand could not chain to it. This will be when we get Banishing. Perfect play. Now's the time. Now, if the opponent controlled a monster, we could chain our Bestial to their Bestial to Bestial our own monster to stop their Bestial from being summoned. But, you know, stopping their monster also keeps their Impermanence live. That's another issue, is that your Bestials will conflict with your Impermanence. If they early activate the Engraver, you block your Impermanence, and your Impermanence would be best used possibly on something like the Sequence. Let's Divine Temple it up. We are also preemptively banishing the Requiem. Banishing Requiem is really good when we have the Lacrima Girl. We don't have the Lacrima Girl, so it's not as powerful to be banishing that. Let's see what is good from here. Double Bestial it up, completely stopping their play. Now, what happens here? What's going to happen is we're going to be the higher chain link to the Phoenix, discarding to attempt to wipe out the Snake Eye Ash. Now, what do you think happens? It's being targeted for being destroyed, so we're going to summon it, and then Phoenix will destroy it, right? Well, it's no longer a spell or trap card. So because the Phoenix is on the lower chain link, it's no good. But it does force out the activation of it, I guess. Maybe that's what we were trying to do. Poplar triggering after being added with the Snake Eye Ash. Poplar then adding the original Sinful. We're now going to be following up with our own Snake Eye Ash. We have not used our Max C yet. Poplar triggering in hand. Chain the Max C. And that's it. We're now under the lingering effect of Max freaking C. Poplar searching for our own Divine Temple. Divine Temple versus Divine Temple is quite funny. Let's set this up. Take out the Snake Eye Ash. Can target any monster on the field that's treated as a continuous spell to summon it. So we can use the Divine Temples to summon from the opponent's back row. As we now make our Apollo USA banned in the TCG, by the way, all under Max C, we do not care. Let's keep on going. End our turn with the triple monster negate on the Apollo mate. We're going to Apollo negate the Magna Hut. Now, beyond the Apollo, we do have the ability to protect ourselves a little bit with the Druid Swarm. Sure. Let's see what's good. Engraver going in straight to battle at 1800 attack. Now, had we had Requiem, Requiem could have equipped onto the Engraver, then Engraver could have attempted to send the Apollo to the grave. We're going to call by the grave, finger the Max C. I can Max C you, but you cannot do the same to me. As we now say goodbye to the Apollo USA, double monster negate down the drain. We're going to follow up original Sinful, send the Snake Eye Ash to summon from the deck as Snake Eye Oak. Here's a theory. The Fiendsmith cards is making a matchup like Snake Eye versus Snake Eye more skillful, more back and forth, more interactions. What do you think? This is a good thing for the game? This doesn't seem one-sided. It seems like Trap Plays is winning, and now Mario's winning. Anything could happen here. Ash send Field Spell some for the deck of Flameburge as we further link this up into our Link Karibo. Now, Link Karibo and the Flameburge going into the Little Knight. We're going to be foregoing our direct attack this turn by activating to banish the opposing Flameburge Dragon as our own Flameburge triggers to reborn 2 level 1 fires from the grave. Does rollback with Harpy Feather Storm work like Ghost Meat Girl? I have to read the cards, but I'm pretty sure it does work. It foregoes the activation requirement unless there's a timing to the activation, similar to something like an evenly matched needing to be used at the end of the battle phase, or the card in activation needs to target a card. We're going to Druid Swarm, banish the opposing Little Knight that we tried to equip into the back row, which would have been summonable with our Flameburge. Only during the opponent's turn, that is. making the Raging Phoenix, but of course we do not have a direct attack. We are passing back to you. We're going to start this off right away into a Hita to trigger the Jerusalem to send a card in the field to the grave. Now, in our own graveyard, we do have Promethean Princess, which we are waiting to trigger. With the Flame Burge activating in grave, we're going to be reborning. We're going to steal the Promethean Princess, now allowing us to reborn our own Snake Eye Ashen Grave. We have a dead Fool Loss we cannot use. And we are able to use that Magna Hut, but on what? Everything has been fire. Double the Promethean Princess is now here. We have the Poplar equipping the Snake Eye Diablo-Star, which is a fire. We have a huge field, 12,000 damage, as the Snake Eye Diablo-Star is going to put the Raging Phoenix into the back row, say goodbye to the Snake Eye Ash. Surely we have enough damage, right? 6,100 life. This is a double 27. It is not enough. Even with 12,000 damage, because there are too many attacks to be blocked, we are now, what the heck? Snake Eye Doom Dragon. By putting 2 of our back row monsters into the graveyard, we get to special summon this for free. And then on summon, we targeted the Promethean Princess, that is the opponent's Promethean that we stole, and we forced it into the back row, which we could steal with our own Divine Temple. Magna Hut in the end phase, banishing the opposing Druisworn to be searching for a dragon during the end phase. What forms of disruption do we have, though? I don't see any disruption besides the Ash Blossom. That's it. We are going to be triggering the Divine Temple to steal back your Promethean Princess we put into the back row, giving it back to me, which I'm thinking maybe we would have wanted to left it in the back row. Well, the thing is, knowing that the Oak could put into the graveyard, I guess we had to steal it, so that does make sense. Ash Blossom, negate the Oak from summoning from the deck. Not today. What else do we have here? We have Druisworn banishing the opposing player's graveyard. Do we have a Beatrice play? We could make a Beatrice. We're going to be summoning our Snake Eye Diablo-Star, triggering the Druisworn being sent to the grave to send a special summon monster to the graveyard. We're going to use our Snake Eye Diablo-Star continually from both players, pushing monsters into the back row as the Snake Eye Diablo-Star reborns itself from the back row after pushing back Promethean. Now, beyond Nibiru, I think that's all we have. Just Nibiru is the way. We're going to crash Promethean Princess in. Huh? What happened there? We just killed Promethean for nothing? Babel Lurie into Requiem. We are turn 6. Requiem's going to be tributing itself to summon from the deck in Engraver. We are at 5 summons now. Equipping onto the Engraver. Engraver send the Requiem plus the Magna Hut to the graveyard. We're going to further link this up into a sequence. Now, the Desiree is an Omni-Negate, but it only can negate cards on the field. So you could safely wait for Desiree to be summoned, and then you could Nibiru the field. You could wait until the end of the main phase, that is. You just don't have to do it right now. Come forth, Desiree. Desiree has an additional effective sent to the graveyard to then send a card on the field to the grave. Shuffle to target 1 card in the field to send it. Yup. We have Little Knight now, though. This is a problem. If it was just getting Desiree in the graveyard, that could have been fine, but now Little Knight could protect the Desiree, but protecting Desiree without it being equipped with the sequence is not going to be that beneficial. It's going to have no negate during the next turn. Yep, just a regular old Desiree, no special effect. We don't have a quick effect way to equip onto the Desiree during the opponent's turn, so it's just going to be a basic body, 2,800 with no disruption. Promethean Princess is in our back row right now. We don't have a fire anyway. Little Knight is pretty much our only form of disruption as we reborn our own Promethean. What, we just got tired? What is this? We timed out? What the heck? There's so much back and forth. Holy moly. Well done from both players. Thank you. Let's hop into another match. Starting off with Sylvie. Sylvie into Valor Negate. Now, surely we're playing a Valor of our own, right? Right? Now, why did we have to do this right here, right now? Well, the Hallowed Azamina was about to summon an Omni-Negate, so it's very important for you to understand with their second activation of the Hallowed Azamina, if you're on the opposing side, that this is going to negate whatever hand trap you're holding on to, so you may as well use it on that. Tribute off the field. Now, the negate's still coming out because it's sending the Wanted Seeker from our hand. And I will tell you, I think a mistake happened here. What did we do to activate this card? On the resolution, we send the wanted seeker from our hand to the grave, right? That's not the cost, but on the resolution of the effect. What that means is you should be chaining. Chain the wanted seeker. It's a quick play spell. Remember when we would use cards like DPE? We'd activate a card, then you could DPE pop it, or you could DPE and then chain a card and then pop it. That's what you kind of want to do here, where you would still search for a Diablo Star. You chain this, search for a Diablo Star, and then with Diablo Star in hand, it then sends the wanted seeker on field to the graveyard in addition to you searching. We have Sylvia Omni Negate. So Super Nate in the chat says they forgot. And listen, this is new cards, new stuff. We're all learning here, so everything is fine. Don't worry about it, my friend, but that's a good thing to note now. We're going to return the Synchro Engraved to reborn the Sylvie. Let's further turn this into Lina. Lina's going to steal the Veiler from Engraved. Thank you, your Veiler is mine. We're now going to be making Little Knight. Little Knight on summon, get banishing, say goodbye to you. Let's set and pass. Now, the Sylvia here is going to be able to negate anything, as the Little Knight could also chain banish. Also, we have the Ash Blossom. We're going to attempt to preemptively negate that Little Knight, as the crossout designate says, no, I don't think so. Negate. Droplet. Okay, so the Imperm is still negated, but we could now still negate the Little Knight. We're now down to double disruption. Sylvia is ready. Now, one of the best counters to Sylvia is going to be a Finger. Finger the Sylvia when she tributes to negate, or just simply attack over her. We're now down to just Ash Blossom. Now, with her being sent to the grave, she's going to activate a search for a Morian Sinful Spoils. I'm not familiar with that card. I'm going to have to read that in a bit. We have Sylvia Engrave to return itself back on the field by returning back the Diabel. Elzette triggering because we summoned a spellcaster during the opponent's turn. Engraver off the top of the deck, looking good. We're going to send Sinful Spoils of Slumber to special summon Elzette to search for the other Elzette, as the Little Knight is going to chain banish the Unicorn, looking at the opposing player's extra deck to now banish a card face down. That face down card, say goodbye to Rasilla for good. Hollowed Azamina, activatable more than once per turn, but the Engrave Recycle effect is a hard once per turn. We're going to special summon Elzette Azamina to now synchro into Silvera. We trying to get damage on the field here, or what? The Elzette Azamina, when sent to the grave for a synchro, will be searching for a Deception Sinful Spoil. We have Diabel recycling our engraved Tales of the White Forest here. Deception, continuous spell. We're going to Hollowed Azamina right now, send Deception to come forth and summon the Reseligo. Reseligo will on summon activate to search, but we do not have anything to search, so we're just going to be going right into a Baron to floor. This is big, and you should always be remembering this. The Azamina Searcher, the setup, is a level 6, and the Sylvie, level 4 tuner that's rebornable from in graveyard, makes a Baron to floor. We have no lingering effects or restrictions stopping us from summoning Baron to floor even after activating all of our Azamina cards. We probably should have some sort of restriction. This does not seem right. This is probably one of the big reasons why Konami TCG banned Baron to floor. We now have Sinful Spoils of Slumber, which I do have to familiarize myself with what this card does. Target a spatial summon monster on the field, change it to face down defense. Okay, if you have a level 5 or higher illusion while this is in the graveyard, you could set this card. Sure. So get flipping, Book of Moon, Omni Negate. We could flip the field face down with Diabel. We could Little Knight Chain Banish, Ash Blossom, negate an interaction with the deck. With about 5 disruptions, we are scooping it up. Azamina's looking great. Duel. Opening up with the Sylvie. Imperm, negate the Sylvie just like that. We do have Diablo Star for a follow-up play. We could also Rusia special summon alongside the Sylvie here. So we have a lot of disruption here, huh? In the grave, we have nothing relevant, but on the field, Baron to floor, negate anything. Sylvia, negate anything. Little Knight, banish a monster. With Wave King Caesar, negate double special summon. We also have Diablo, flip the opposing field face down. That is 6 disruption. I'm not too familiar what this card's doing in the back row. Control, you can activate one of these effects, special summon from your hand, or fusion 1 monster from your extra deck using your hand or field. Does this turn into a disruption? I'm not familiar with it on whether it will or not, but it'll be interesting to see. Sylvia, negate the effect, not the activation of the card. Nicely done. Even if you negated the activation of a Wanted Seeker, another copy would not be activatable. We have the Rusia sending a card to draw. We're going to also use the Wanted Seeker to draw again, setting up the Sinful Deception to send a monster to grab the LZ Azamina. LZ Azamina revealing itself to special summon. That is an activation, a special. Thus, the High King Caesar negates. What else do we have from here? Nothing. That is that as we go into game number 3. Let's begin game 3. Maxi at the start of the turn. Cross out designate. Negate that Maxi. Is it true that the leaker, Gia is the leaker? Well, you freaking got me, man. Imperm, negate the Sylvie. What do we keep on seeing? Sylvie on summon for all 3 games have been negated as she attempts to add a white forest spell/trap from the deck to the hand. This is interesting because we know that the Hollowed Azamina is going to be adding itself back to the hand, and now it is missing a Sinful Spoil card to send to the grave, but we have Diablo Star, which could supply that card. And had we not used up our normal summon, you could make a play where Diablo Star searches for original Sinful, sets it, doesn't activate it. You could then send it to the grave with the Azamina Fusion card, and then banish the original Sinful to search your deck for a Snake Eye Ash, then normal summon it. Now, we could still do a Poplar play if we're even playing that. Come forth, Diablo Star. Diablo Star, searching our deck. This looks to be more of a White Forest-focused deck, though, without Snake Eye. So if you are worried about having to play Snake Eye, you don't. You got the Hollowed Azamina, which can now send the card that the Diablo Star set up into the back row. Nicely done. As we now, Sylvia, Omni Negate is here. We have Sylvian Graveyard reborning itself to now turn this into a Little Knight. This field's not so good. We're going to be able to set this card into the field. I guess that was pretty good. We do have the ability to flip a monster face down now. This is triple disruption plus a called by. Negate anything, flip a monster face down. It does have to be a special summon monster that we flip face down, though, and the Little Knight will chain banish an opposing monster. Let's see what we can do. Deception of the Sinful Spoils. Whoa, why is it doing nothing? It has to send a monster. Even if we had a Veil or an Ash Blossom, we could have activated to search. It's got to be a monster. Hollowed Azamina continually recycling itself. Hard once per turn, that is, from the grave to our hand. Deception is Sinful, just to send it to the grave to summon from our extra deck, essentially a Diablo Star. With you on summon, we're going to be searching our deck for a Wanted Seeker, and we do not have a way to reborn the Sylvia to turn this into a Baron de Flor yet, as we grab our Diablo Star, sent to the grave with 8,000 damage on the field, just like that. Lethal damage. We've seen a lot of different decks today, and we're going to continue to see different ways to play with Fiendsmith and Azamina. Let's do it.